One of the more unique things Valve's PC gaming digital storefront Steam is doing is pushing the envelope to sell adult-only rated video games. We now have access to more games that retail stores will not sell, at least in America. If you couldn't sell a game on a store shelf 10 years ago, making money from it was almost impossible. Some games carried the adults-only rating in certain countries because of excessive violence or themes, but most were given the adult-only kiss of death because of pornographic content. Because a lot of our stores wouldn't carry games like this, you would usually see games released in other countries with more lax standards, as well as being developed there, like Japan, and they might get a digital release and translate it in the West if you were lucky, as most of the money was made for the game already in its original country. So to see a Western pornographic title released in the late 2000s and get a sequel and do well is unbelievable. But that's what D-Dub Software did with Bonetown and its sequel, Bonecraft. They sold it on their website, and because of its controversy and word of mouth, the game gained a notoriety with many people at the time, myself included. Fast forward almost a decade, and now Bonecraft is on Steam. What a world we live in. Bonecraft is the sequel to Bonetown, a game that is part comedy, part bad beat-em-up, and part sex in a contemporary setting. For its time, it was praised for its animation quality, of which I can't show you, but it was laughed at for its bad gameplay and over-the-top childish jokes. Bonecraft is the sequel, and it's sci-fi. It's parodying Warcraft, Warhammer, and StarCraft, most notably. It keeps some of the beat-em-up elements of the first, but adds in a lot of guns to shoot things. I'm just gonna sum up everything very quickly right now for this game, and then get into the Steam version. Bonecraft, as a game, is bad. It wasn't enjoyable to play in 2012, and it's aged like milk 7 years later. Bonecraft's combat is terrible. You primarily fight orcs and elves and other things the game throws at you, which include dick monsters. Yes, I said that. The guns feel terrible. The animations for shooting feel incredibly canned. Your character just cycles between each frame in the most robotic way possible when performing different actions. And the level variety ranges from tedious to frustrating, from killing waves of the same enemies to doing control points and escort quests. Playing the game on normal is a chore. Playing it on hard is a frustrating nightmare. This is partly because of the game's knockback system. Basically, when you take damage, your character just kind of flies backwards sometimes or gets stunned. It's really frustrating because you could just get stun locked and get killed. So when you play it on hard, it's just a frustrating mess, but you need to play all of it if you want to unlock everything for the game's sex shop. As you complete levels and get money, you can unlock more girls to bone. Animations and models are recycled from Bonetown with some new stuff in Bonecraft. The game was praised for the animations for the time, but nowadays they're blown out of the water by anyone competent with Source Filmmaker or Blender, and that's just in the West. Now let's talk about one of the few redeeming qualities about this game, the story and writing. So for the original game, Bonetown, one of the biggest selling points for it, other than it being a niche Western-developed weird comedy porn game, was the fact that they got Ron Jeremy, the porn star Ron Jeremy, to voice his own character in the game. Well, keeping with the tradition, Bonecraft goes above and beyond for the joke. Neil Kaplan, the voice of Tychus Finley from Blizzard's own StarCraft 2, voices the lead of this game, Captain Fort Worth.
Oh, these dick monsters are crawling out of green testy sacks. It just ain't right. And we all know Wrangler rule number 1, make extinct anything that ain't right. Hell, it's about time.
The writing here pretty much relies on shock jokes or lines to get a chuckle out of you. The fact that I'm hearing Tychus say this really amplifies the comedy. It's bad, but it's the enjoyable kind of bad. Alright, so let's get into the Steam version. The game doesn't feature cloud saves, but it is compatible with your old save file, and there are Steam achievements if you are into that. Yay. They don't seem to be intent on putting Secure ROM or any nasty DRM in it like they did with Bonetown, so good on you, D-Dub, for not including Denuvo in this one. There were some mod tools released for the original Bonecraft back in the day, but there isn't much regarding them here, like no information. It's just kind of like they forgot about it. It might still be in the game files. I haven't really gotten into it because modding this game back in the day wasn't really a well-known thing. People just knew about the game, but that was it. So there's no Steam Workshop support here or anything like that, which would have been really funny. The game does support using a gamepad, but it's not great. It doesn't feel like, a modern game does, where you can load it from big picture mode and everything's set up and it feels great to use. I've read that they are adding more support for it later, though. Pre-order DLC for the original game is included, so the game is the definitive edition on Steam if you are going to buy it. Some weapons have uneven audio levels, the shotgun sounds way louder than it should, and the loading screen art doesn't scale at all to modern monitors, with some having weird and ancient aspect ratios. So in short, Bonecraft Steam Edition has more effort put into it than Star Wars Battlefront. Pretty cool. In all seriousness, the game isn't worth $20. Unless you really want to support Western adults-only developers, but you should also know that D-Dub Software hasn't really done anything since 2012, so it's a wonder they are still afloat. This was pretty much their last title they ever released, and they haven't done anything since. Or you could buy it so you can hear stuff like this.
Wrangler, you have saved my life. I am yours forever, whether fighting by your side or pleasing you in every way you can imagine.
Fight now! We'll fuck later.
Which is pretty cool. Anyway guys, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. I'm out.